Oh, Vegas. Vegas, Vegas, Vegas. We're talking today about one of the Vegas Golden Knights' top paid stars. And the idea as to whether or not bad luck just keeps following him around. Ladies and gentlemen, we are talking today about Mitch Marner, one of the most glorious Toronto Maple Leafs that we had seen over the past 10 years or so, who is now, of course, a Vegas Golden Knight. Marner is a guy who needs no introduction. He was one of the most infamous Toronto Maple Leafs ever since his acquisition back in 2015 in the 4th overall spot at the draft. Mitch Marner had multiple years as a superstar player with the Maple Leafs. He was over a point per game for how many years in a row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 6, 7. Mitch Marner was over a point per game with this Maple Leaf squad. He was pretty good. You can say in the playoffs he definitely did not show that same level of production and clutch, but that's neither here nor there. Marner was a 100-point scorer. Marner was going out there with Austin Matthews trying to do their thing, but Marner ultimately wanted to leave Toronto. And he found himself in the Vegas Golden Knights organization, where, for the first time in 7 years, Marner is trending to be a sub-point-per-game player. 71 points, 74 games. He had the most clutch goal of his life at the Olympics, scoring the overtime winner against Team Czechia. But other than that, Marner's season with the Golden Knights has not necessarily gone according to plan. And now, with 8 games left, the Golden Knights fired their head coach Bruce Cassidy and hired John Tortorella. Last night was Torts' first game as head coach of the Golden Knights, and Marner didn't register a point. He had 20 minutes and 19 seconds of playing time, but he was a -1. And now, we have an article that was posted on HockeyLatest.com by Tyler Ball that pretty much asks the question as to whether or not Marner is the problem here. Mitch Marner was brought from Toronto to push Vegas over the top, and his first year is already falling apart. What a dramatic title. Let's go out there and read this piece. It'll be linked in the description for your reading pleasure. The Golden Knights went all in this summer to try and capture the second Stanley Cup in the young history of the franchise. Their biggest addition came when the Golden Knights traded for and signed Mitch Marner, planning to use him as an elite two-way winger. Now that's great, because Marner, spoiler alert, he was an elite two-way winger with the Toronto Maple Leafs. What did the Golden Knights have in store for him, though? Let's find out. As the season went on, Bruce Cassidy used Marner more as a center, which seemed to hurt both Marner and the Golden Knights' production. Now the Knights have fired Cassidy after blaming him for the failures of Marner and the team as a whole. This afternoon, they had announced they had relieved Bruce Cassidy, and they had hired John Tortorella, yada yada yada. The move comes as a major shock, as the Golden Knights are in a Stanley Cup playoff spot with 8 games remaining in the season, but clearly the front office felt Cassidy was not fit to lead this team into the playoffs. From Marner's perspective, this brings up a much larger issue of once again a head coach that Marner has played under being fired while he underperforms. Marner left Toronto because the organization couldn't figure it out, and now he's watching the same thing happen in Vegas. Marner's time in Toronto came to a frustrating end after the Maple Leafs continually failed to make a deep playoff run in his entire Maple Leafs tenure. These failures in Toronto led to a lot of turnover at every level of the organization, from front office to coaching to players, and now it seemed he might have been doomed for the same fate in Vegas. With just 8, now 7, games left in the season, Tortorella has a limited amount of time to turn things around and get the Golden Knights properly motivated and playing at a peak level. Is Marner a scapegoat here? And honestly, as much as I like to harp on this guy, I'm a Canucks and a Canadiens fan, so anytime we get to bash Toronto Maple Leafs guys and Mitch Marner, it generally goes over pretty well. But I will say this. Mitch Marner spent the majority of his pro career as a top-tier elite two-way winger who could just drive play extraordinarily well. He can open up space. He can rove around. When the puck's on his stick and he wants to keep it, he will keep it until he throws it over the glass. Okay, pause. Sorry. But Marner has made a living doing that at the National Hockey League level. So the idea that you can just say, all right, well, Marner, you played center with London, right? All the way back over a decade ago? How about you go out there and do it again? All of a sudden, Mitch Marner is placed in a position that he is not comfortable with, a position where, let's face it, he's not winning a lot of face-offs, he's not really used to that, and he's not the strongest guy out there either. Mitch Marner is placed in a more difficult spot with more north-south center ice responsibility, and that takes away from his playmaking. Especially when you look at the Vegas Golden Knights and their lines, and what exactly they have, options-wise, elsewhere in the lineup. I mean, you talk about some of these guys. Pavel Dorofeyev is a brilliant finisher. You have Ivan Barbashev, who is a really nice everything kind of forward, can play center, can play wing. You have William Karlsson, who is out and about, but he is essentially your everything forward +1. And then you have some other names, Jack Eichel, Mark Stone. Oh, okay, Mark Stone is up there with Eichel. Well, shucks. That means we gotta play Marner at center on the second line, right? That is so ridiculous to me, man. Are you serious? The Stone and Eichel connection, I understand that it's something that the Vegas Golden Knights would want to continually have, but when you shell out $13 million a year, 12, because of the state tax, that's what it is, right? That's why Marner could take a lower AAV. When you shell out $12 million a year to get a guy signed on, you don't think that that's a priority for your organization? You play him in the best spot to succeed, you play him with the best players that you have, and heck, you move things around so that you get that top-tier finisher like Dorofeyev onto that first line. Mark Stone is absolutely amazing, but when the guy is missing half the year, you kind of need to get chemistry going with other people, and it's hard to get chemistry going when Mitch Marner's playing gosh darn center. The idea that Vegas shelled out all this money just to see Marner be placed in a position he's not familiar with, whether that's their own fault or Bruce Cassidy's fault in particular, is so interesting to me. And I do wonder how this John Tortorella Marner experiment is going to go. Not even saying that it is an experiment, but I'm just saying that it might actually have to be when you consider the fact that Marner was a point-per-game guy consistently, over a point-per-game guy for the past 7 years of his career, and is only now dipping on a team that's supposed to be a lot more top-heavy than the Maple Leafs. The Toronto Maple Leafs had like 3-4 guys that were going out there and producing all the points. Vegas, you look at the caliber of names on this team, you would expect more of that. You would expect Jack Eichel to get a 90-point season. You would expect Mark Stone, if he's in the lineup, to consistently get points. You would expect goals from Pavel Dorofeyev. You know what you wouldn't have expected, though? Just 20 goals and 50 points out of Tomas Hertl. We shelled out a lot of money for that guy, and hey, guess what? He is going out there and not producing nearly as much as he had in the past. He had 60 points in the same amount of games played at this time last year. He was at 30 goals. You can say so many guys on Vegas just haven't been able to get it together. The team is so top-heavy, yet the production doesn't really reflect that. Yes, there have been issues with the depth in Vegas. Yes, there have been issues with the coaching and the messaging from the coaching with Vegas. I'm not too sure if John Tortorella is the fix to that, but I also do kind of think that it's not Mitch Marner's fault. And anybody suggesting that it is 100% his fault, okay, I understand that we did that in the title of this video, but hey, gotta get that click somehow. I just don't really know where we can go from here. And ultimately, I'm very excited to see how it's going to go down, because Mitch Marner, of course, talented player, but whether or not he has it in him to consistently be that 100-point caliber guy like he was pretty much the past few years of his career, just spare the games played, $12 million would generally be worth it, but if he's only getting like 70 points a year, maybe not. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this Vidishash Rolls 99. And bye.